Welcome. I'm your host, Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. Tonight's podcast is 7 ways why grasping and embodying contradiction and friction liberates you and your business. Business intuition never comes from strategy books, it erupts from contradiction and friction. When you embody tension instead of avoiding it, you activate your inner radar that no system can teach. It opens you up to listen and witness your life. Contradiction compost inherited logic. Friction rubs away raw, rehearsed brands and opens up a better way. Together they awaken your contour compass, guiding bold choices, intuitive pivots, energizes profit with a pulse. There's never mindset, it's forthright momentum. The enterprise becomes a living broadcast of brilliance, sculpted from sensation, never scripts from yesterday. See, that's something I really opened up to in my own life is contradiction and friction because it's going on inside you. Because what you want, what you desire, and where you desire your business to be and where you're at, they're two different places. And we call everything in here boundaries, but it's really contradiction and friction because contradiction and friction can be questioned and massaged away, and you can open up fresh wisdom to expand your way. Why grasping and embodying contradiction, friction liberates you from yesterday's way of life. Grasping contradiction dissolves inherited obedience. Embodying it activates intuitive autonomy. You never just notice paradox, you become the pulse of your forthright foresight, ignites your ingenuity. This rises you out of compost programming and program clarity and burst sovereign discernment. Liberation is never escape, it's ignition. And when you rise out of compost programming, you open up to your trailblazer clarity and burst your sovereign discernment that ignites your inner intuition. Friction rubs away the rehearsed self and reveals your contour compass. And if you take the word, if you're open to this, dissolve the word self and start using sovereign, what that does is takes out the cognitive recollections you have to self. Because self you think is you, but sovereign is means you're free of all that. As you embody friction, you stop resisting tension and start decoding your direction of travel. It's never discomfort, it's design. Liberation happens when sensation becomes the signal wave of your wisdom, insight, clarity, intuition, and innovation rising out of yesterday. See, when you understand everything that goes on in your business and in your everyday life, all that is contradiction and friction. Because we go in there, well, I have it in my head, in my mind, it's going to go this way, right? Then the next thing you see, it's going this way. Contradiction and friction is present moment. Like past chaos is back there. And if you go to the future, all that is the frequency. But if you use contradiction and friction, it's right here. And all it is a difference in between you. It's what you desire and where you're at. And that's all. Friction and contradiction, that's all it is. You're contradicting where you want to go, and the friction and contradiction together, they awaken you internally. Because investigative questions, energize listening, and your everyday life events and encounters and experiences They're going to try a way for you to rise, shine, and energize a fresh way. You rise from loop improvement, pulse from intuitive ignition, stop chasing freedom, and start broadcasting internal freedom. Liberation becomes your architecture of your desired experiences. Why embodying contradiction, friction, awakens business intuition. Embodying contradiction, compost inherited enterprise obedience and activates intuitive elevation and autodidact acumen. Autodidact is sovereign enlightenment. You stop mimicking market models and start sensing your own signal waves of wisdom, insight, and clarity. Contradiction is never chaos. It's your contour compass guiding you to sculpt offers that pulse with originality and magnetize aligned clients to rise, shine, and become part of it. All friction and contradiction does is take the past out of it. It brings it all to here and now. And what it really bypasses is that memory board of your past that we all have in our subconscious mind. And that's something I really understand now. The outside world, all it does is instigate whatever's in that circuit board of the past in your mind and your emotional snapshots. That's going to be Thursday night's podcast, is it rising out of emotional snapshots and subconscious mind circuit board from yesterday. Friction rubs raw the rehearsed brand and unveils your breath-line brilliance. It presses against polite performance and awakens your entrepreneurial instinct to rise, shine, and energize your divine dexterity. You stop selling from scripts and start broadcasting from sensation. Intuition becomes your architecture, never your accessory. Embodying contradiction and friction dissolves legacy logic, tunes your decision, your choice-making radar. You no longer analyze from fear, you intuit from flow. Business intuition awakens when your attention becomes the terrain and you enterprise becomes a living broadcast of boldness, never a legacy blueprint. How do we try to design everything that we're going to do, and then when that design goes haywire, we fly off the handle and get all mucked up in yesterday, and we get all panicky and everything like that? If you understand, if there's something unsavory happening here, all that is contradiction and friction for you to rise out of where you're at to there. 7 ways why embodying contradiction, friction awakens business savvy, increasing profits. Contradiction composts conformity and ignites contour clarity. As you embody contradiction, you stop rehearsing legacy logic and start sculpting intuitive innovation and your desired lifestyle. This unleashes curiosity, the most profitable fuel, birthing bold, innovative ideas that magnetize markets and differentiates your brand of your bold, rebellious appreciation, naturally dawning a fresh way of life. And if you take the word new out of your life and use the word fresh, new, you really, there's nothing there. It's out here. But when you do fresh, you can feel fresh right here. Friction is a forge where courage becomes currency. Friction rubs raw the rehearsed identity and activates your trailblazer instinct. It dares you to disrupt, erupt, and expand through life with these, never just deliver. The boldness becomes contagious. Clients feel it, collaborators mirror it, and your bottom line reflects it. Contradiction and friction dissolve inherited business obedience, activate sovereign enterprise, and autodidact acumen. And see, no matter if you're in business or not, we're all sovereign enlightened. But if you let go of being educated and start using sovereign enlightened, because education, indoctrinated education, has barriers and boundaries around it that keep you stuck in yesterday. When you stop selling from scripts and start sculpting from signal waves, the energetic clarity attracts aligned opportunities, loyal audiences, and you profit from the pulse of your enterprising wizardry. Your business becomes a broadcast of brilliance, never a performance of politeness. And see, that's something I always thought it had to be, was polite in business. You have to be straightforward and with integrity, and let the people know you're not only trying to sell them something, you're trying to show them a better way, and also your leadership from your heart shows through. When embodying contradiction, friction awakens business savvy, increases profits. As contradiction composts legacy logic and bursts intuitive innovation, you rise, shine, and energize your communication skills. As you embrace contradiction, you stop rehearsing inherited business obedience and the sculpting the signal waves of your soul that flow into the universe. This unlocks fresh offerings, bold pivots, and contour crafted clarity that magnetizes aligned clients and elevates your bottom line. Friction fuels your entrepreneurial and your autodidact instincts and dissolves polite performance. Friction rubs raw all the unwanted stuff and activates your trailblazer rhythm. It dares you to disrupt, never just deliver. The courage becomes contagious, your brand pulses with authenticity, and your profits reflect your your vibrancy. Contradiction and friction activate sovereign strategy over sculpting and selling, over scripted selling. You stop outsourcing altitude and start broadcasting brilliance in the here and now. Your business becomes a living broadcast of intuitive elevation, attracting loyal audiences. Visionary collaborators and profit with your pulse. Why grasping and embodying contradiction, friction destroys egotistical arrogance and hard-headed stubbornness. Because that's all that egotistical arrogance is, just contradiction, friction, and hard-headed stubbornness is, I call it my hard-headed stupidity, because that got me in more trouble than anything. Contradiction composts the illusion of certainty. Grasping paradox unveils that truth, the veracity is never tidy. Embodying veracity dissolves the ego's need to be right. Arrogance can never survive where tension is honored, because wisdom pulsates through the humility and the tension of the transcending energy within inside the tension, never hierarchy. Friction rubs a rigid mind and unveils a contour compass. Stubbornness thrives on repetition. Friction interrupts the loop and invites sensation. When you embody discomfort, you stop defending identity and start decoding direction. The hard-headedness softens into a signal waves of communication. Embodying contradiction and friction turns resistance into vibrancy. You stop performing control and start pulsing presence, because that brings your presence to the here and now. But your ego dissolves never through defeat, but through ignition. What once felt like threat becomes a threshold, and stubbornness becomes surrender to a sovereign flow of foresight, love, optimism, and wisdom. When grasping, embodying contradiction, friction unwinds colorful curiosity to rise me out of know-it-all ignorance, moldy old thinking, knowing, learning, and knowledge. Contradiction composts calcified certainty and invites radiant curiosity. Grasping paradox dissolves the illusion of already knowing. Embodying activates the wonder of wisdom. You stop clinging to answers and start sculpting questions that shimmer with scenarios of your desired lifestyle, accomplished outcomes, and your dreamer's paradises. Friction rubs raw the rigid mind and reveals your contour compass. And contour takes down the barriers, and the contour compass, it goes out. It's just like the flow. If you look at the earth, it's a contour. Well, your contour compass is your intuition, imagination, and your own laser beam of brilliance. It interrupts a loop of learned logic and ignites intuitive exploration. Moldy knowledge gets composted into fresh foresight. You rise never by accumulating facts, but by sensing the flow of your free-flowing energy, of your intuition, imagination, and all your Picasso prowess to color and paint your world your way. Embodying contradiction and friction turns stale learning into sovereign listening. You stop performing expertise and start pulsating presence. Colorful curiosity becomes your architecture and your architect of your desired lifestyle. You never just learn, you erupt. See, we've learned to learn from other people, but you erupt of your own inner rising revelations and wisdom. Ignorance is never battled. It's bypassed by the energized questioning of your contradictions and your friction. And when you question that, investigate it, you rise out of it and you color your life in a new way. Why grasping and embodying contradiction, friction awakens inspiration into intuitive innovation, imagination, unleashing your Picasso prowess and fashion designer daredevilry and artistry. Contradiction composts conformity and bursts contour inventors' innovation. Grasping paradox dissolves the need for symmetry, awakens a symmetrical brilliance where you see the world as fun of the sun splendor. Embodying that activates your innermost Picasso, where tension becomes texture and innovation pulses from out of everywhere. From out of everywhere dares unleashes your adventurous flair of your forthright, liberating audacity, invigorating rebellious energy to rise, shine, and energize. Friction rubs the raw, rehearsed aesthetic and unveils sovereign style. It interrupts the loop of borrowed design and ignites intuitive artistry. You stop mimicking the trends and start sculpting the signature of your fashion designer's prowess. Erupts when sensation becomes the silhouette of your dreams. Embodying contradiction and friction turns chaos into canvas of the scenarios of your desired lifestyle and the business you desire to experience. You never just imagine, you architect with your artistry audacity. Inspiration becomes instinct, innovation becomes impulse, imagination becomes infrastructure. Your artistry never is never decoration, it's a declaration of your rare breed credence of your trend setting talents. Why grasping, embodying contradiction, friction clears away yesterday's overthinking, emotional snapshots, subconscious mind frozen in time representation from self taught torment. Contradiction composts the illusion of clarity, dissolves the loop of overthinking. Grasping paradoxes Grasping paradox interrupts the mind's addiction to resolution. Embodying it activates presence over performance. You stop trying to fix the past and start sensing and experiencing the here and now. Wow. Thought becomes breath, never a burden. How have your thoughts been a burden and your breath liberates you from the burdens? Friction rubs raw the frozen snapshot and melts the subconscious moldy old ways. It presses against the emotional residue of self-taught torment. Those inner representations that replay like haunted sideshows or or a house on Halloween. Embodying friction turns those echoes into ignition. You never relive, you release, let go, and communicate away yesterday. Embodying contradiction and friction now wires the architecture of your memories into the here and now scenarios of your desired life. You stop looping through learned pain and start sculpting from the sensations, realizing pain is actually a emotional snapshot, and it's in that motherboard of memories in your subconscious. The subconscious is never a trap, it's a terrain. You rise never by forgetting, but by reformatting the torment. But it's about coloring and designing that into the present moment you desire. Becomes texture, presence becomes pulse. While grasping and embodying contradiction, friction opens free flowing energy, destroys yesterday's dismay. Contradiction composts emotional residue, activates sovereign flow. Grasping paradoxes dissolve the grip of what should have been. Embodying, embodying it turns stuck stories into nowographies that signal the best way for you to enjoy life. Free flowing energy erupts when tension becomes terrain, never the trauma. Friction rubs raw the frozen script and now writes the breath line broadcast of your desired lifestyle. It interrupts the loop of dismay and ignites the intuitive momentum of your here and now. You stop rehearsing regret and start pulsating presence and the wisdom of that situation in the here and now. Energy flows never by fixing the past, but from sensing the now. Embodying contradiction and friction dissolves the architecture of stagnation. You rise from the rubble of yesterday's knowing, thinking, and thoughts, and ignites today's contour clarity. Dismay becomes the design, energy becomes the instinct. You stop trying to heal, so you shimmer and glimmer your heart and soul surgency. And I am Robert Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom Hypno Acuity. And may your life always be as blessed as you are a blessing to me in the world. And thank you. And enjoy your weekend. Have lots of fun.